I received an email message asking what did I mean when I said on another public podcast that I'm not a big fan of cold bath, particularly ice baths. And the reason why I'm not a big fan of ice baths is I want you to put yourself into a situation as if you were in the dead of winter. You're driving down a road, your car goes off the road, and you fall into a frozen lake. What you have to recognize is when you submerge yourself into that body of water, the human body's first defense is to try to heat up the body of water that it's in. Obviously, you're going to lose that battle. That's a condition known as hypothermia. And literally, the concern of the first responders is that you're going to freeze to death. Now, stop and think about the difference between falling into a frozen lake and submerging yourself into an ice bath. Now, I know that there's all kinds of clinical studies that state the multitude of benefits associated with ice bath, and I'm not going to discount those. What I want you to do is back the train up just a little bit and ask yourself, when are you using the ice bath? So for example, if I were to take a hot motor, let's say you just got done racing and I took a hot motor and I pulled it out of the motorcycle or the car or whatever it may be, and I throw that into an ice bath, nobody would be surprised that the casings of that engine would crack because of the dramatic temperature difference. And obviously when you throw something into extreme cold, it has a tendency to shrink, and in the case of metal, would crack. When you put yourself into a state of absolute incredibly cold conditions, think about how much energy you're losing to essentially your surroundings. Your body is trying in earnest to warm up that body of water. That's why you start shivering almost immediately. When you shiver, that's the body's self-defense mechanism to create heat until it can't win the battle, and then you're under a condition known as hypothermia, as we mentioned. When you're looking at the amount of energy it takes for your body to try to warm up the body of water that you submerge yourself into, it's going to create a high level of exhaustion. So when we see athletes doing this in between different races, in between different scenarios, all in one given day, it's a very, very fast track to exhaustion. Now, there's a stark contrast to an ice bath in contrast therapy. So for example, if you're in a really hot, humid environment and you're able to submerge yourself into some cool water where you don't shell shock the system, you don't cause the body to start shivering, then sure, you can bring your core temperature down quickly. However, there's still going to be a level of fatigue associated with it. What I would recommend you focusing on is when you're extremely hot and you're trying to cool yourself down, take it in stages. Let the body naturally cool itself off. You can put wet cloths on your wrist, the side of your neck, and right next to your pubic bone where you've got that big femoral artery. Take some ambient air temperature water, sit underneath a fan. This is where a heart rate monitor becomes very beneficial, because if you know what your normal resting heart rate is, how far off of that are you when you finish training or racing? The more you can gently bring the heart rate down, the less stressful it is on the body. If you follow me on any of these videos that I've put together, or you've listened to me on our podcast show, I don't think people understand the condition of stress and fatigue that the body is under, and then they're putting it in extreme conditions. In this video, we're talking specifically about ice baths. So the reason why I say I'm not a big fan of ice baths is I find that most people are already pre-exhausted, so their stress level is extremely high. They're going too much of a temperature deviation, which adds more stress to the system. And then, like we said, if the body starts to shiver to try to heat that body of water up, you're just going to lose more energy. So I wanted to clarify why I'm not a big fan of ice baths. I am a big fan of contrast therapy. Now, if you're somebody that has done the research and you believe that you reap all the benefits of being in an ice bath, that's awesome. Keep doing it. But when I look at the bigger picture of when people are trying to apply it and why, it's actually having the opposite effect of what they think it is. And that's why I wanted to make sure I answered this question on a public video platform. If you happen to have any questions similar to this, please do me a favor. Either leave a message below or please email me directly. You can reach me and my staff at contact@coachrobb.com. And as always, thank you so much for watching these videos.